be talking about the Fluke 1507 insulation tester, MEG. It is a little loud up here, so I'll try to talk over the noise if I can. The other circuit is running right now. I have this circuit off. So I got all my wiring to the compressors disconnected. 3 compressors total. So what we're going to be doing here is using this insulation tester to check the insulation on these compressors. Now when we're doing this, we're going to be checking at 500 volts. This is 3-phase. It's 480. You don't need to go over 500. There's no need to. Now we're going to be checking leg 1, leg 2, and leg 3, and then writing down our readings on a piece of paper. So that way, if this compressor checks out, we write it down. This one has a lower rating, you write it down. This one has a lower rating, you write it down. And then you keep record of that. And then 6 months from now, you come back and you'll check all your windings again and see if, you know, they stayed the same or they got lower. If they start to go lower, then more likely that compressor, the windings inside of it, are starting to break down. And that's the basic reason why you would use an insulation tester, is to check the breakdown of the insulation inside a compressor, inside a motor, inside your wiring or conductors. You know, some people want to use this to check shorts and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, it's good too. Heavy Diesel on YouTube, he has the actual, there is a brand called MEG. They make actual insulation testers, and they're pretty expensive, but you know, they are one of the best ones you can get. And he's always using that thing and finding shorts. Yeah, that's great and all if that's what you're gonna use it for, and you can dial in pretty good and you know what you're doing. But I mean, more likely if you have a good multimeter that's got a high ohms resistance rating on it, you know, more likely you'll pick up a short somewhere if you're looking for it. But anyways, let's check these out. I'll show you what it shows on here. It has your reading right here for how many volts DC this is pushing out. Then up here is your insulation reading measurement in your mega ohms, or it'll be less than that. So everyone kind of has a scale, but I think anything close to around 100 mega ohms is not too good. You know, you want it as high as possible. If you start getting readings around there, it's not looking too good. So I'll show you like a quick test on this. So like if we would have like just a straight short dead, you know, dead short to ground. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this onto ground, which I have my clamp on copper, good grounding bond. And what I'm gonna do, now watch this. So on this, it's just a test button. You hold it down, this will light up red. That means you're setting voltage to this probe here, and it's going to show all the way up how many volts it's sending out, and then it's going to show you your insulation reading. So if we go straight to ground, look, 0 and 1 volts DC. That means basically you got a dead short to ground. So there's one way you could also use this, you know, obviously, like I said, check to ground, but a good meter, you're not going to need this. So let's check our windings here. Also on these, you have threads in here for each leg that hold in your wires here. You're not going to check where you have your set screws locking in. That's just holding the screw in. You gotta check these plates right here. On each leg here, these plates is what are tied into the windings in the compressor. So we're gonna check one, and we're gonna write our readings down. So right here it goes L1, L2, L3's at the bottom. So let's see what we got here. So we're gonna go on L1, let's hit test. And just this, what I like about this insulation tester is it's pretty fast as far as sending the bolts through. Obviously if you have, you know, bad insulation, you'll definitely see it really quick. So I'm holding the test button down. We got greater than 550 meg ohms, and we're sending in 526 volts DC. If I let go of the test button, it will save my reading right here at the top. So L1 is greater than 550 meg ohms. That's good. Leg 2. We're testing. We're sending 526 volts, 550 meg ohms, greater than 550 meg ohms. Leg 2 is good. Let's check leg 3. Testing 526 volts DC. Our reading is greater than 550 meg ohms. This compressor, this insulation checks out. We're good. Also note, this unit was installed around 2007, 2008. These compressors are original. So right now, you know, these are looking really good as far as insulation breakdown. So let's move over. Actually, let's write down our readings here real quick. So we had greater 550 meg, greater 550 meg, greater 550 meg. Okay. All right, here we go. Now let's check leg 1 on compressor number 2. Got it. Another thing on this probe, it's got a nice point on there, so you can jab it in there really good and get a nice, good contact. Okay, we're testing. So we're sending out 526 volts DC. Our insulation reading is 550, greater than 550 meg ohms. Leg 1 is good. Okay, leg 2. We're testing. Sending out 526 volts. Our insulation reading is greater than 550 meg ohms. Leg 2 is good. Let's hit leg 3. Testing. Sending 526 volt DC. We are greater than 550 meg ohms. This compressor checks out. We're good. Greater 550 meg ohms. Greater 550 meg ohms. Greater 550 meg ohms. Go to the third compressor. Adjustment here. See on the screen. Go. Leg 1, testing. Sending 526 volts DC. We are greater than 550 meg ohms. Leg 1 is good. Let's do leg 2. Testing. We are sending 526 volts DC. We are greater than 550 meg ohms. Leg 2 is good. Check leg 3. Testing. We are sending 526 volts DC. We are greater than 550 meg ohms. Insulation in all 3 compressors are good. So let's write this down. Greater than 550 meg, greater than 550 meg, greater than 550 meg. So as a maintenance, you would write this down, you're gonna pin a date, you're gonna save this, and then you'll come back in 6 months and you would go and re-measure the compressors again and see if you have a different reading and range on your measurement. So on this one here, this is like the 1507. There is the 1587, which is higher. That one can do a little bit more things. But for just a basic, good installation tester, this Fluke is, you know, it's one of the top of the line meggers. You know, you got all the way from 50 volts DC all the way to 1,000. If you're doing stuff over 1,000, then you're gonna want to get something obviously a little bit more expensive, like the MEG insulation tester. That one will go higher. There's actually ones that I think you have to have a contract with them to even get it. You have to be with a special company, otherwise they won't sell it to the public. Those will go higher than 1,000. Stuff like that, I mean, you're gonna be checking like, you know, thousands of feet of three-phase wiring. You know, if it's underground and conduits, you got to check each leg to make sure your insulation from one point to another is good and there's no break in insulation. Obviously, if you have a breakdown in insulation, you're going to have a catastrophic failure. That's not good. For HVAC, this is a perfect meter for doing insulation testing with. It is in $800 range. Now there is other ones that are a little bit cheaper than this one, which I would recommend would be Probe has a good insulation tester, and X-Tech has a good insulation tester. Then after that, like I said, you'd have your Fluke here, and then you'd have the MEG. MEG is going to be more expensive, but it's a great insulation tester. About the MEG insulation tester is it's got a graph, and I like that graph constantly will tell you, you know, your insulation testing, what it's doing. I like that a lot. Also, like on this, it's got your reading, it's showing how many volts you're sitting through. I notice a lot of guys like using or use the Supco insulation tester, and that's that little one that says good, bad, or whatever on it. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that maker costs what, probably $100. You do pay what you get for. Would I trust that? No. If someone handed that to me on the roof and told me to insulation test three-phase equipment, I would just probably throw that thing in the trash. It's honestly, it's just a waste of money. If you're gonna spend money on an insulation tester, get something that's good, worth the value, like Fluke here, MEG, X-Tech, Probe. Like I said, also you can use this on motors as well. So we will check insulation readings on indoor fan motors or return fan motors due to warranty issues, or if we take it to somewhere and they're breaking it down, they want to know the readings. So you basically fill out a form and they want to know your MEG readings. So we have to MEG out the wiring. You gotta be careful sometimes with that, because if the insulation is somewhat wet or it's got condensation built on it, your readings will be lower, and it might get confused thinking that it's bad when actually it just needs to dry up and the readings will go back up to being where you want them to be. So that's the kind of thing, it's a little tricky. You gotta, you know, make sure your insulation isn't wet or it's got moisture on it, because it will lower the readings down. Other than that, I mean, you know, is this a mandatory tool for, you know, HVAC service tech? No, I don't think so. But in heavy industrial or commercial, where you're doing maintenance stuff on equipment that's very critical, it definitely is something, you know, you're going to want to get, because you can prevent a compressor going down with checking this. Instead of just not knowing when it goes down and it goes down in the middle of the day, you could have already checked it with the insulation tester you know, 6 months before and known that the installation was breaking down, and you could have changed the compressor out. That's just giving you a scenario. But like I said, you know, it's not something that I think everyone mandatory really needs. Just depends on, like I said, what you were working on, what your job recommends, and from there. Residential, I don't see really the point. A good multimeter will check everything you need to know on a single phase equipment. But I've had this Megger for a couple of years now. I've used it plenty of times, and it's always giving me good accurate readings. You know, I don't need the 1587. This is all I need. Like I said, 3-phase, we're only doing 40 volts. You only need the 500. You don't need the 1000. But other than that, yeah, it's a great multimeter. That's it. See you on the next one.